Okay, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're going to have a look at Adobe Premiere. The first thing we need to do is once our project loads is we need to establish a sequence. So there are two ways of establishing that. In our project panel, we can select the new bin or the new item tab and sequence, or we could also go to File, New, Sequence. Either will work. Now that we have a sequence, a standard one that we want to use is DV NTSC typically, and standard 48,000 hertz or 48 kilohertz will work just fine. And if the sequence changed, the program will let us know. So next we need to do is we need to have footage. So once again, I can either double click in my project panel, and this time I will select video from here. 080 import. The alternative way is to also go to File to browse your documents. Okay, now that we have our file imported, it is in our project panel. What we have to do is bring it into our sequence. So I'm going to click, it becomes highlighted, and I'm going to drag it out into my panel. Now Adobe says the size and the settings of the project don't match. So what we can do is we can change the sequence settings so that we don't have additional black lines on the outer edges or on the top and bottom. Okay, our clip comes up as being yellow because it is raw footage. As soon as we apply an effect to it, it'll become red, in which case we'll have to render it out so that it becomes green and readable to the computer. Okay, so if I play it back, you can see that there's audio on this clip. To do so, I'm just going to press spacebar or play. Either way will work, as long as my video is highlighted in the blue section.
Numéro 3, les espaces. Numéro 4 sont identiques. Et numéro 5 sont petits et visibles.
Okay, so you can definitely tell that there is an audio track. Notice that V1 corresponds to A1. Typically, V2 will correspond to A2, V3 to A3, but as you move one up, sometimes if your audio is stuck on the master track, you have to move it down manually. Just something to keep of note. Okay, this is our effect control panels, and right now we have nothing selected. Our source clip is nothing selected. That's just so we can view a clip if we wanted to. Like say I double click this guy. I can now view him and see if he's a clip I want to drag into my project panel. Now because I know it's the one I want, I don't particularly need this source video. What I'm going to primarily use this window for is my effect controls. As soon as I highlight my clip, it turns white. I go to effect controls and I have certain options. Because these are transformative options, they're just basic effects, but they're controlled with keyframes, so it's hard to determine whether or not they're special or not. It looks cool for the user. But before I get to this section, I'm going to look down here a bit more closely. Okay, so with my sequence selected, my panel, I'm going to press the plus key and that will zoom in. Also, I could use my zoom tool and that will also zoom in. Now it's the same clip, same distance, but now it's zoomed into my timeline so I can see a bit closer the seconds and be more accurate with my splicing. Now primarily there are two tools we'll be using. There's a selector tool, which the shortcut is V, and there's the razor tool, which the shortcut is C. These tools will be useful, but they're quite particular. At this stage of the game, we're not going to bother with them. It's more for advanced work. So let's start by making a cut.
Ensuite, un numéro 10 dans la déjà discussion. Pourquoi est-ce que c'est difficile de vérifier l'exactitude du modèle particulier?
Okay, so I remember Mr. McCarl having his little laugh here, so let's try to cut that out.
5.
To scroll back, you can either press plus and keep zooming in until you have frame by frame, just minus back out, or you could also use the arrow keys, and that'll allow you to go frame by frame. So I'm going to press C to cut, get my razor tool out. I notice that when I scrub away from that particular point, I have a cut in both my video and my audio. Okay, so now this clip, if I use my selection tool, highlights separately from this clip, but they are both the exact same clip. Okay, so now I'm going to press play again with my space bar. I will cut, and notice I can't cut empty tracks, so I'm going to scroll over to my actual clip, cut, go to my selection tool, it is highlighted. I'm going to press Command C, or I could right click and copy it. See right there, copy. I'm going to go to the end of my clips, that way this clip stays untouched. I'm going to zoom out so I have a bit more space. And I'm going to paste it by pressing Command V or right click paste. Now because my CTI, my current time indicator, is right there, my clip becomes pasted right there. If I paste a second or even third, let's go with 4, sure, why not? It immediately pastes after because that's where my current time indicator is. If I happen to paste here, it would overwrite whatever material this is and paste this clip. Typically what you want to do is paste after when you have an empty spot and then drag it back in. Notice how when I drag it back to video 2, audio 1 stayed there, but now when I bring it to audio 2, now I can move it around freely. Now this is something else you can do, is as you have two clips that overlap, the audio will be heard simultaneously, but the video track will only be seen what's on the top of the stack. So because this video is on top of the stack, it'll be seen first. So all of a sudden he's going to go and wave his hand. There we go. Okay, if I go back over here, this is called splicing when you have multiple clips back to back. It just makes for a cool effect. And as soon as we enter or go to the end of our clip, like our complete end of our timeline, we press play again, it starts back up at the very front. Okay, so a few things we can do, a few basics. Let's speed something up. I will click on a clip, right click, and go speed and duration. If I bring my speed up, meaning I go to 150%, you'll notice that my duration went down. Because my speed is going faster, it's going to naturally take less time to go through. As soon as I press OK, notice how it shrinks. It is visibly smaller than the other clips. So when I play it back, you'll notice that he sounds like a chipmunk. If I apply the same effect to this one, right clip, speed duration, go 150, same speed, but this time I select maintain audio pitch. So it's faster, but it sounds more like his natural voice, which is actually here. Oh, got to the edge of the clip. Let's try that one more time. So this is what he sounds like. Not quick enough. And this is what he sounds like when he is fast forward. Pretty much the same. And here's when we do not maintain the audio pitch. Okay. So you can see how by putting a lot of these clips together would be kind of amusing. Okay, now let's go back to our main clip and let's look at the transformation controls. So let's go to the part where he raises his hand. Does he raise his hand here? No, maybe it's further at the beginning. Minus to zoom out. Yes, the first half of the clip. There we go. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so let's actually split up some of those points. So he goes, number 1. This is just French. So I'm going to take a cut. Put a cut there. Okay, they're always in motion. Number 2. Number 3.
Non, 3. Les espaces. Non, 4.
Oh, I missed that one. Zoom in, backtrack a little bit. Notice how I'm still with my cut tool, but when I go up to my timeline, I just have my selector tool. I'm not actually changing tools. I'm just able to scrub freely. And that's actually kind of a nice hint, or a nice way of doing it, because now I can just click and cut as I go.
Espaces. Non, 4 sont identiques.
And there's the 5th one, roughly, give or take. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this track and put it, let's leave it there. Let's take this track, move it out. Move this one down. Move that one down. And now I'm out of tracks. So if I need more tracks, I could always just right click. Actually, maybe I have to right click over here. Add tracks. I'm just going to add 2 more tracks. Add 2 more video tracks, and how many audio tracks? Let's go 2 as well. 2. After audio 3, absolutely. There we go. We now have 2 additional video tracks right here, 2 additional audio tracks right here, and I have my 3 clips separated. Now to have a clip selected, you have to click on it, and it'll turn white. If it doesn't turn white, chances are it's not selected. So click on it, there it goes, now it goes highlighted. Now in my Effect Controls panel, click on that tab, it's highlighted. This blue bar here represents this clip. Okay, if I shrink it, it just means that it's that much smaller to work with. So I'll leave it open, and these are the transformation controls. If I click on motion, I can move the screen for this particular clip over. I can move it to the left, move it to the right, move it up, move it down. If I leave it like that, for the entire duration of the clip, when I play it back, it will be stuck in that position.
Sont toujours en mouvement. Non, 2.
Notice that the clip turned red. Because there's a transformation applied to it, it has to be rendered out, so that means it has to be processed frame by frame so that the picture will be a little clearer. But if we want to make it move, what we can do is, this is our CTI here, same as the CTI here. Under position, I'm going to just put it back to, so I can see it. I'm going to bring it back to where it's supposed to be. Click 420. Drag this guy back up. I think it was 240. Okay, there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the little stopwatch on. And by doing that, I now create myself a keyframe. So in this keyframe, he's going to be in this position. For the remaining of the time, he's still going to stay there until I change that keyframe. So if I go further, and I put another keyframe just by clicking on the Add Remove Keyframe, and I say I want him to move left. Drag him off the screen. So I'll have a brief little bit of full frame, and then he'll start sliding out. And because this is his last known position at negative 430, he's going to remain at negative 430 for the remainder of the clip. If later on I decide to bring him back in, I could put another keyframe and bring him back into the picture, or even bring him off to the other side. Then as soon as I press enter, this one clip will render and it'll turn green. Now right now I'm not going to do that because I believe it might make my QuickTime crash, but let's move on. That is a transformation control.
Sont toujours en mouvement. Non, 2.
There we go. Number 2, let's work on the opacity. Opacity is how much you can see it. Right now it's set to 100%. So if I say start at 0%, I'm going to turn my opacity on. Make sure my keyframe's there. Bring it to 0. So right now it's going to be invisible. Press enter. Now he's invisible, you can't see. And then I will slowly bring him back up. Bring it back up to 100. So at this position, he's at 100%. He's full visibility. So if I scrub this timeline, slowly he comes back into sight. Now because he is on video 3, if I move him up and I take one of these clips and I drag this clip underneath it, while this clip is invisible and he comes in sight, if I zoom in and I position him where the opacity is at its lowest, you'll be able to see through the layer until the opacity comes back up. You'll also be able to hear the additional audio track. So when I scrub forward, and then he fades away. If I extended this clip all the way, same thing would happen, except instead of going completely black, it would be a solid transition, a lot smoother. So that's opacity. The third one we're going to look at is called scale. Going to click on the first clip now, and under motion, go to scale. There we go. So right now he's at 100%, 100%, 100%. Then as soon as he gets to this keyframe, he's going to change from 100% down to keyframe a second one. Let's say 50%. Now by going 50%, it's actually a factor of 4 because it goes 50% in the X and 50% in the Y. So just to show you guys what I mean by that, is if I position his video completely to the corner, I have roughly a quarter of the screen taken up. So 50% is actually 4 times the size. Just something to think about. And if I want to, I could also do a rotation, turn rotation on. So right here, he's at 0. And let's have him here. He's at 0. Let's go 1 X space 180. So if I did this right and I press enter, it'll register as 1 full rotation and then 180. So it starts off as 180. By the time it gets here, it'll do a full rotation and come back down to its rightful place. Let's play that back.
Encore les 5 points numéro 1 sont toujours en mouvement. Numéro 2, concentration.
And there we go. Okay, so those are the transformation controls, and you can apply multiple controls to the exact same clip. Just have to make sure that your keyframes are in the right position. If at any point I want to change those keyframes around, what I could do is I could switch them around. So there he's upright, and here he's upside down. And if I play it backwards, he'll go upright, upside down. Similarly, if I go negative, it'll go the opposite direction. Okay, next time we'll look at the special effects and masks.